Welcome to CSU Monterey Bay. This is a Cypress course. This is a 20-hole course. Right next door you have Oaks course, which is also a 20-hole course. This one is a little more open, a little more flowy. The first 8 or so holes, you have quite a bit of elevation to deal with, but it's pretty open. This is hole 1, 405 feet straight at the middle. You got Mando on the left. You gotta be where the low ceiling. My shot's gonna be something relatively straight, a little flex to finish near the basket. One thing to note about this course is that there's always a wind. The ocean's about maybe 2 miles that way. Depending if you're playing in the morning or afternoon, the wind does change directions, but you definitely got to take that into consideration. Hole 2, 330 feet. It's just to the left of that cypress tree, through that gap. Options: backhand to the right, hyzer, finish to the left, forehand out around the left. You really just want to avoid the middle tree. I'm going to try to throw that backhand hyzer. There's a wind coming off our left side. I'm going to push this down. So I'm throwing my pyro. I'm going to try to throw it a little bit higher so it has time to flex back. Downhill so it plays a little shorter. Skip. Skip. All right, so why this is called the Cypress course is because of these cypress trees. Be careful, they are super grabby. So if you are playing in California, depending on the event, you have the 2 meter rule. So if it's stuck over 2 meters, it's a stroke penalty. So just be very, very careful of that when you're playing this course. Another thing to think about when you're playing this course is what the ground where your disc is landing is like. So you have grass. Right now I land in tan bark, that's why I didn't have any much skip, but also you have this crabgrass, this grabby stuff. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but the disc will just sit and just not move at all from that. You'll also have some areas with pine needles, so you get a nice big skip. So definitely be conscious of where your disc is landing because the ground action is going to be completely different. It's probably about 30, 35 feet. Close, just been right around the chains. Hole 3, 294 feet. You can see the basket right between the small gap between the trees. Options: forehand to the left, backhand to the right. Again, like a lot of holes here, gotta be aware of the low ceiling. I'm gonna try to throw that pyro out towards that tree on the right and have it fade through that gap up next to the basket. Hold it. Get around. There was a little breeze at us, so I turned it over a little bit and I pulled it as well, but should have a circle 2 look for bird. Ended up better than I thought, probably about, again, 30 feet or so for bird. Nose down, never got it up, never gave it a chance. Hole 4 says 325 feet, plays a lot longer than that because it's uphill. Also you have the cypress tree in the middle. So options: you can do something low ceiling underneath it to the left or the right, or you can go around it on the left with a forehand or a backhand turnover, or to the right. A lot of grabby, I'm going to call it grabby grass, but the stuff where the disc hits it, it doesn't move, just like you can see right there. A lot of it right around the basket, so it's very, very hard to go long here with the elevation and that. I'm going to try to throw something overstable to the right gap, have it finish left, hopefully have a edge of circle 1 or into circle 2 look for birdie. Low, early release. Yeah, it's gonna be short and no run with that grabby grass. I knew I could give it a go with the grabby grass around it, but yeah. So my buddy thinks this stuff is called ice plant. I like grabby grass. It's got the nice alliteration. It describes what it does. It's kind of grass-like and it's definitely grabby. So we're gonna keep referring to it as grabby grass. Hole 5, one of the challenging holes out here at Cypress, CSU Monterey Bay. It's 477 feet, good elevation drop down the hill. The road on the left is a line in the middle of it. If you're playing actual rules, it's out of bounds. Also, obviously, with this elevation and the wind, you really gotta be careful your nose angle where you wanna start it. There's no OB right, but you have that line of trees to do it. I'm gonna try to throw something low, just to the left of the basket, have it turn, and then finish slightly left. Turned it over. That's probably partially the wind and partially just turning it over, being afraid of the out of bounds. So this is the drop zone. You really don't want to go out of bounds here because from this drop zone, you're still looking at 210-foot upshot, not the easiest in the world. Reminder, the OB line is this white line you see down the middle of the road. Anything left of it is out of bounds. About 180 feet out. Again, you gotta be really conscious of the ground where you want to land the disc. So I'd like to throw a forehand in this situation, but that grabby grass, I'm worried if I throw it at all a little low, if it hits that, it's gonna die. So I'm gonna throw a backhand, try to have it straight at the basket and soft. Good shot. Hole 6, going back up the hill. Again, you gotta be aware of that OB line on the left. The basket is just past the drop zone, up the hill. It's kind of blocked out from the tee pad. Two options. You can either go to the left, forehand or backhand turnover, or I've had it also with significant wind coming off the right-hand side. I've gone a hyzer out to the right and skipped it back across. Just, again, be cautious of the out of bounds. You have the out of bounds line on the left, and then depending on the tournament, you might have an out of bounds line on this other road. I was worried I wasn't going to turn it enough and I was going to leave it OB, so I overturned it. So again, just like the last hole, critically you don't go out of bounds. If you do go out of bounds, this is the drop zone. You're looking at 210, 220 foot upshot. You got low ceiling on the right, you got out of bounds on the left. Yeah, so definitely avoiding the out of bounds at all costs is a good play here. So I thought that tee shot was pretty terrible, but I'm 45, 50 feet, low ceiling putt, much better than being out of bounds. So again, if you miss right. That was not really an effort. Kind of gave up on it. There was some significant wind pushing to the left, so I was worried if I got on too much hyzer, just gonna blow away from the basket. So through 6, still even par. This is a much more open course than the Oaks course. As my buddy Arturo just said, the real big thing to avoid on these first several holes is just the OB, because that can kill you. Hole 7, it says 234 feet. It's pretty much straight uphill. It does play at an island green. I'm gonna play it about 260, 280 feet. You see that one tree that kind of blocks the middle of the island? You could do something straight at it, backhand, maybe a slight turnover. You could do a forehand, or you can do a backhand out to the right and let it fade in. I'm gonna try to do that backhand out to the right and let it fade in. Hold it, that's OB. Keep coming. Skip. I think that's out of bounds because on the island green around the edges, it's a little bit raised. So unless it lands on it, it's unlikely to skip up and on it. We'll see. So here's the out of bounds line on the backside of the basket. You can see Arturo's just stayed in, but you see how this is raised here? So a lot of times it'll land and slide out. Mine never came back, so just out of bounds. That was stupid. I've played this course probably about 5 times in the last couple months, and every time I've thrown the same disc. And I tried that disc that I just got 2 weeks ago for the first time in this hole, and pulled it out to the right. I threw a second shot with the disc I normally use, and it ended up at 20 feet from the basket. So it's a reminder, stick with what you're comfortable with. Drop zone, obstructed view, probably looking about 45 feet. Give it a go, hopefully we can save par. Never got the nose up, never got it up. Bogey. Hole 8, par 3, like pretty much every hole out here. 528 feet straight down the hill. Out of bounds left, out of bounds right. Keep it in bounds is the key. I'm gonna try to throw that low shot, slight flex, and have it finish back to the left. The wind is coming off our left shoulder. So I really need to probably put on a little bit of a hyzer so it doesn't turn over too fast. Not an easy shot. That is out of bounds. I put it on hyzer, but then it just, once it turned and saw the bottom of the wind, it just pushed it way too far. The wind has definitely picked up here. That was a stable driver I threw, and you saw once it turned over, it was not coming back at all. There's a lot more wind than you can feel up at the tee box. That's one thing to consider on these courses is, are there trees protecting the tee box and makes it feel like there's not much wind? Because if there's an open space that you're traveling through, your disc will be affected by the wind. From the drop zone, 190 feet, big crosswind left to right. Got the grabby grass in front of the basket. Gotta try to get there. Can't throw it high, because if you throw it high, it's gonna slide out to the right. I'm gonna try to throw a berg, pretty much straight at it, maybe slightly left of it. Let the wind take it a little bit in. My bird got eaten up by the grabby grass. That's another reason why I was aiming a little bit left. There's less grabby grass on the left-hand side, so I thought if I finish it low, have a little more chance to run. Obviously with this stuff, no run. 25, 30 feet, significant wind heading this direction. Can't throw nose up in the wind! Hole 9, 330 feet, uphill. Gotta throw something out to the right. You could throw something straight ash as a tight gap. Play is either gonna be a forehand turnover or backhand slide hyzer. And try the backhand slide hyzer. It is uphill, and there's a lot of grabby grass about 30 feet short of the green, so you gotta get up on the plateau in order to have a chance to have a look at birdie. There's a lot of wind coming left to right. I threw that on hyzer and it flipped up to flat and then turned over. So yeah, just beware of the wind out here. I cannot believe that 3-putt on the last hole, but it's a good reminder just how big a factor wind can play. And if you're gonna miss going into the wind, make sure you keep that nose down. And I don't know, the second putt, honestly, I have no idea what happened. I was downwind and it just sailed on me. Maybe there was a crosswind and it just caught the bottom of the plate somehow. I'm not sure. That was weird. But honestly, a pretty good third make from about probably 25 feet. But yeah, wind is real. Probably about 80 to 90 feet. The wind is going that direction, so got to keep the nose down. Just gonna try to lay it up close to the basket. No, get down, get down. That is not nose down. 25 feet, got a nice crosswind, slightly at us. Got to keep that nose angle proper. Hole 10 says 335 feet down the hill, through the gap. You can throw something straight at it. Forehand flex out to the left is a nice option too. Or maybe a backhand slight turnover through the gap behind this first like chunky Christmas tree looking tree. I'm gonna try to throw something straight at it. Too high. Get down. Oh! Barely got down, but we'll see where it ends up. One thing to always remember on this Cypress course, well, obviously the wind, but also there's a lot of elevation change. Even if you don't feel it, there is significant elevation change. You combine that with low ceilings, you have to be very conscious of where you're aiming and what your nose angle is going to be to make sure you hit those gaps and avoid those tree limbs. Definitely not the way I expected to start those first 10 holes. I was hoping to be closer to even par or maybe under par. But with this wind, it's so unpredictable. Scores can be, a couple under to several over based on the wind, and we definitely have a little bit more windy day, and it looks like it's picking up. So back nines should be interesting. Hope you can join us for the last, 10 holes since it's the 20th.